Joe Budden question. So the Joe Budden pod, the format's way different now. How do you feel about that? I know we kind of bonded. We listened to a lot of the same things. They had a lot of the same interests as far as like podcasts. It just made sense. But Joe Budden specifically, we were longtime listeners there. And how was that for you as far as like the switch up with the format? I'm talking about past Ish and Ice. Now you got Queen's Flip, right? And you got Melissa Ford.
Right, I think it's better. Honestly, I like it a lot better.
Interesting.
I like it a lot better.
I'm on the opposite.
No. I like it a lot better with Melissa Ford and Queen's Flip than it was just Ish and Ice. When it was just Ish and Ice, compared to Rory and Mal, Rory and Mal had a better podcast. So it was a better listening experience. But adding Melissa and adding Queen's Flip pushes the envelope for more provocative conversations. And I feel like Mel comes in and kind of adds more of a female look to it, and she kind of. Is good eye candy, and because she's been in media before and she's high esteemed, people like to listen to her.
She has a name.
So I like the pivot, but if you ask me which one is better, by far it was the Joe Budden podcast, Rory and Mal.
Yeah, well, and it's a power move when he pulled those big personalities on there. When he got Queen's Flip, who already has a huge personality online. I was more familiar with him than Melissa Ford. I just kind of had known her on the peripheral. But yeah, I'm kind of on the opposite. I think there's way too many talking heads on there now. And sometimes, because it's such a diverse cast, you get in situations where, like, for example, specifically Melissa Ford, they'll be talking about sports, and then I'll be like, please don't. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, she'll take like the most bonehead, like surface level, like woke take. And it's like woke in sports. I'm really done with that shit. Yeah, I'm done with that. So it's like when we're talking about Colin Kaepernick or whatever, can we just say, like, really at the end of the day, like, that's over with? We don't have to make shit like that.
Yeah. Play. Before I continue, can everybody on YouTube hear me? Can y'all hear me on YouTube? Just put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me clearly on YouTube. Because I know we don't have the audio hooked up, so you got like direct sound. So if you guys can hear me in the live chat on StreamYard or YouTube, somebody throw a 1 in the chat if you can hear us fine. Somebody. So
and I mean,
go ahead.
Let me know if this is too much, because this is in the middle, but I could try to hook up the dongle to that, and I might have a piece that could hook your computer to that, and it might have the audio go there while we're recording. I don't know.
Everybody's saying they can hear us, so
okay, cool. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, all right. But either way, so for the Joe Budden podcast, I agree with you though. The Rory and Mal right now, I love Rory and Mal on Joe Budden, and I agree that podcast was one of my favorites, to be honest. All right. But when I listen to the Rory and Mal shit, I feel like I'm not getting anything from it.
Rory and Mal suck ass potting
by themselves, right?
Yeah, because they overplayed their hand, and when I say that, it's like, y'all were interesting because y'all complimented Joe Budden. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna go to get a meal and you're gonna give me the sides. They're side dishes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like something specifically that kind of turned me off from the whole Rory and Mal shit, even though I really liked him on Joe Budden, so I'll always check back in and see if maybe it's just a growth thing. But I feel like whenever I tuned in on that, it was like, let's talk about bitches. They're like, let's talk about bitches. Let's talk about, oh my God, isn't it crazy when you leave your toothbrush at a girl's house? I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear this shit. Like,
see, Rory and Mal were better because Joe was like the uncle OG, right?
Yeah.
Too cool, but I'm famous, so I'm still cool. I'm just older than everybody. Yeah. Mal was like, okay, I got industry connections, but I'm like too cool to experience anything. But that's what fucked around. That's why I was getting Mal fatigue. Yeah. When before he left, because it's like every time we have a conversation, you never experience any of the things we're talking about. Yeah. But you have an opinion on it, and when we ask you, oh, do you know this because this is what you lived through? Nah, I was too cool to do it. So why are you here to pod if you never experienced anything because you're too cool to do it? No, like, you don't have any, like, the best part about certain podcasts, especially with Joe Budden podcasts, sometimes we have like separate self-deprecating conversations based off of mistake experiences.
For sure, yeah. Like the Jay-Z shit, how he handled that situation.
That's or when Joe was talking about how him and Ice was about to fight outside the club and nigga pulled out the long knife and they had to like ride off and Joe was off the shit and ready to fight. Stuff like that. Like, it's embarrassing, but niggas know you, so like, for sure, it adds character.
And we can relate to it.
Right. Mal is so scared to like be vulnerable. Yeah. It took away from the pod at a certain point where, like, Rory, I like Rory because Rory would have certain embarrassing stories or certain stories where it's like, okay, he didn't look all the way cool, but it was relatable. Nobody wants to relate to Mal because Mal thinks he's too cool. And Mal, he can dress fly, but it's like, Mal, we know when we walk in room with the hose, like, you're not pulling the hose because you're Mal.
What was your opinion on Rory?
Rory was cool.
Yeah, you fucked with. Yeah.
Rory was cool. Rory was, I like Rory because Rory kind of needs somebody who talks fast.
Yeah.
I appreciate how Rory talks slow and puts periods and commas. Right. And the way he talks complimented the Joe Budden podcast because Joe goes on rants and he talks fast. Me and Joe kind of same bag and we'll just go crazy for 20 straight minutes. And Rory comes in with the calm monotone explanation of what Joe just rambled off.
But would challenge them with that in that podcast specifically. I loved that it felt like all of them could and at that point it did, I guess, give us a little bit of a false perception where at the end, like basically when they were talking about like the Spotify split and everybody was speaking as if they were owners kind of, so it gave us a false sense of perception, but they all seemed like peers. When the Ish and Ice thing happened, it felt much more like it was Joe Budden's show. These motherfuckers were featured, and anybody from this point on would be strictly featured. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think that's the hard truth that a lot of sympathizers have to understand is that we're not coming to hear you hoe ass niggas, bro. We don't give a fuck about anybody who sits next to Joe Budden. We're listening to Joe Budden because he's an institution at this point. We're watching him to learn. This is not even entertainment for me no more. This is class.
I agree with that because he's somebody that wants to launch a network and things like that, and that's kind of like right up the alley.
When he's pivoting with co-hosts and he's doing this, I'm studying Joe Budden. I'm not watching for entertainment anymore. Serious podcasters are not watching for entertainment anymore. We're watching to learn. So I don't give a fuck if it's him, Barney, and goddamn the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
But the show suffered when those two people left.
It suffered for
I wouldn't
people
say nobody
who
gave a fuck.
Okay, it suffered for people who are listening to be entertained.
You said it suffered. You said it suffered.
But when I say it suffered, because it suffered for people who want to be entertained. Me, I'm still watching.
You were not entertained. That's the point.
Even if I'm not being entertained, I'm watching somebody work through a dry spell. I'm watching somebody work through the bullshit. The shows, the numbers aren't up. The enthusiasm's not up, but I'm still potting. It was a time last year where my viewers and my traffic was cut by 90%, and I still have to sit up here and podcast like I'm about to hit 1,000, even though I'm about to hit 100 views.
Yeah. No, I understand that because you got to put the best foot forward, period.
You can lose everything and you still have to pod like you got it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody passing your family, you gonna stop podding?
No.
You think your audience cares?
Somebody's gonna stop rapping? Let me ask you that. Never.
Nobody gives. What I learned is like nobody gives a fuck about you. What you got going on? Your show must go on.
Yeah. No,
nobody cared that Joe went through a breakup with Sin. They just make sure. They just want to know where you're gonna pod twice a week. Sure. Nobody cared if Rory and Mal left. We got a pod Saturday.
But when you have an audience like that, then you have responsibility to them. You don't think so?
When you are presenting anything and you are meeting a demand, supply demand, you're giving people what they want. That's the name of the game. You can't stop because something happened. Your leg blew off. So what?
Yeah.
Go live, get on that microphone, and give me what I want.
So we're agreeing on that. It's like you have a responsibility to that audience.
Your fucking parent passed away on the way to the game. Yeah. Suit up. You're starting tonight, and you better drop 40 on your mom's name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the legend would do.
I mean, Brett Favre's dad passed away. He threw 4 touchdowns Monday Night Football.
That's it. Yeah. No, that's true.
Nobody cares. The only thing they want you to do is actually, something very traumatic happened in your life. Give us the greatest performance you ever did.
Make this a moment.
Double down. Be greater than you were when everything was perfect. You see what I'm saying? So nobody cares.
There's no sympathy in that way.
Exactly. So when I'm watching Joe Budden, I'm understanding some of the back end of what's going on behind it. So I'm watching you pod through the struggle because there's going to be times where I'm going to have to pod through the struggle.
Sure.
Times where I should have probably podded through the struggle and I didn't because the struggle was too real.
Yeah.
I took a 7-month break.
Yeah.
And niggas didn't give a fuck. Why?
Yeah.
Mental health. Fuck your mental health. Go live.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. And I mean, definitely at that point, I think he's pushed through it. And a lot of the criticism for the Ish and Ice situation has been they're not like equal contributors. Not that Mal and Rory were equal contributors, but they were active participants in every conversation. There'll be times that Ish and Ice will just be sitting there and then I had to look at him like Deuce Andretti and Billy right now. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect. We're on topic 1, but I'm saying it'd be halfway through the show and it's like, yo, say something. You know what I mean?
No, because
y'all talk about Joe Budden. I'm gonna let y'all.
Joe Budden.
Yeah. We can do this. Yeah, we can move on, but like this is just a commonality.
Right, and we got a long show. We can be here as long as we need.
Yeah, we're fine.
But the thing about the Joe Budden shit too is like, hold on. Before I even continue, what were you saying? Because I want to. Because you said something.
Well, I was saying.
The thing is, 2 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ice self-proclaimed never went outside.
Yeah.
Ish is like an older man who already made money in his industry. So it's nothing. He doesn't have to appeal to anybody.
And who was outside of that's a good thing though. You don't have to appeal to everybody. You have people come on the pod where it's like, yo, I can't say this. You can't have the same environment because I'm on here type shit. You know what I mean? Like can't smoke or shit like that. Random shit.
But the thing about it is, number one, why I would be silent is because y'all haven't did half the shit that we're talking about. So you kind of can't relate. Number one. Number two, one thing that people miss about being visual potting or just being on camera, you have to be likable and people have to believe you. Like you can't be like for no jumper when you bring it on house, no disrespect to house phone or a Flocko or none of them, but sometimes like you bring on people, they don't look like somebody that somebody wants to listen to. Or you don't have experiences to where we can relate to. Like, okay, Rory and Mal, you come on there. We know you went out last night. We know you getting fly. We know you at the parties, this, and that. Sure. So it's like when we're talking about something, you're telling us stories you can relate to. When you're talking about you were hungover and this happened, like we're young enough to where it connected with us.
Yeah, 100%.
Them 100%. Who are they? They don't have those types of stories.
So
and we don't want to let. And personally, Ice cool. He's cool. But personally, I don't want Ice can't tell me anything unless we're at Best Buy and we're trying to get some electronics.
Yeah, no, he's a wizard with that. But Ish, I like Ish. Ish has a lot to offer.
I fuck with Ish.
Okay, yeah. I like Ish a lot. And honestly, I don't mind Ice. I
like Ice on Twitter.
I preferred the show before the Melissa and Queen's Flip ad. Although I do think Queen's Flip adds a lot. And like you said, he adds a lot as far as the pushing the conversation forward, not being afraid to say some wild shit that makes everybody else on the show go, oh, I can't go there. Which is honestly part of what frustrated me about the Joe Budden shit.
The thoughts and prayers era?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's why Rory and Mal had to get up out of there. Because every time something came up, we ain't even roasting the topic anymore.
Yo, we're not even talking about it.
We have industry ties. So instead of spending 40 minutes of gold of roasting somebody, it's just, oh man, thoughts and prayers.
100%. No, that shit was ridiculous. And you're right. It was like almost everything. Somebody had a relationship or Mal. That was actually when Mal started to get really frustrated because it's like, yo, you're literally not willing to talk about anything, son.
You're cool with everybody. Like, come on,
yeah,
bro.
Exactly. Don't want to affect nobody's mental health or whatever, but we're talking about them. So we just got it is what it is. People are in the public light. They're going to get talked about. But one thing I wanted to ask you about before we move on, and Bills, I know you have an opinion on this, no jumper. So the kind of like collapse. I don't want to make it all pod talk, but you know this is like our passion for sure. Yeah. So it's like no jumper. It kind of looks like it's going through some serious turmoil.